Hey, buddies, friends. This is Waylon of Elephant Journal. I'm about to talk with a dear friend or a longtime acquaintance, somewhere in there. A wonderful person, faith hunter, spiritually fly. Encourage you to follow her. Faith,
Well,
we did it.
we did. Hey, what's up?
Does it look okay? Hey, everything's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this little light thing. Here we
Yeah, you got your filters going on.
always like the filters. They're fun. There we go. I have like
There
this
you
crazy light coming in. There we go.
Not. It looks beautiful. You look lovely.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow, it is so good to see you because I haven't seen you since this summer.
I know that was so fun. So, for those who are just joining and who maybe don't know Faith, although I feel like everyone in the world should know Faith, who are you and what do you do?
Well,
Just a little.
just a little bit, like a little bit. Well, I mean, I start midway of my life, I guess I would say. I started practicing yoga in the 90s when I was
Yeah.
living in New Orleans in grad school. And then I moved to DC to do nonprofit work, did nonprofit work for years, working in the health area and HIV and AIDS and capacity building with nonprofits, which a lot of people really don't know because I don't really talk about it. I see your eyes right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that I have an MBA and I worked with
I love
nonprofits. That's what I did.
that. I had
uh,
no idea.
Yeah, throughout my 20s, into my early 30s. And then, yeah, and then I got tired of doing that. I relocated from DC, moved to New York, had no idea what I was going to do, and just started like practicing yoga like crazy. And I'd already been practicing, but when I moved to New York, I was like, "Oh my god, there's so many different styles and things." Because I was literally only practicing one type. I was only practicing Kundalini, which I thought it was either that or riding. I mean, at that moment in time,
Yeah.
that's all I knew. And then when I moved to New York, I was like, "Oh my god!"
And
And
then
so,
what years were you in New York?
um, I, I was there from 2001 all the way to 2006,
That,
and
that was like a renaissance time for yoga, especially in New York.
oh my god, it was amazing, it was amazing. I mean, there were so many different places from Jivamukti,
Yeah.
well, and I practiced Jivamukti, I did my teacher training at Laughing Lotus. I mean, there were just so many
Did you
people,
ever
so
go
many
to Cindy
I
Lee's Om Yoga? I love that
did, yeah.
that place. That place was
It was
so cool.
so cute and sweet, and it was just
Those big
so much love.
bright rooms.
Yeah,
You remember all the
it
colors?
was
Love
amazing, it was amazing. So I did that, and once I became a teacher, I taught a little bit in New York, and then I relocated to DC. And in 2007, I opened my first yoga studio
okay.
in Mount Vernon Triangle in
I
DC.
was
I
gonna
had a
ask, like, how did you go from like an avid student to a famous yoga teacher? How did that happen?
well, actually, it happened that around that time when I opened up my first yoga studio. So in 2007, I opened that up, and then in the mix of things, somehow Yoga Journal found a podcast that I did. And I used to do these live recordings of my yoga classes. And it is funny because my partner at the time, he was like, "Why are you putting these classes out for free on a podcast?" I was like, "I don't know. I saw one other person do it. I was like, this might be a cool idea."
Good for
And
you.
so yeah, and I started doing that.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
it's crazy,
That's like the butterfly, like what leads to what in the
you
future.
know,
Like you
I
did
know.
one decision, Yoga Journal heard that. I mean, it probably would have happened somehow else,
Right. Right.
but
They've heard the podcast and they list my podcast as one of the top ones for that particular year.
wow,
Like it's online, like what was considered online at that time,
right,
online yoga.
exactly. I was gonna say, did people even call it podcast then?
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really weird. And so they were
Yeah.
like, online. So I went from that all the way to appearing on the cover of Yoga Journal.
Mhm. I
Uh,
remember.
I was like 2010. Everybody remembers the like. It's interesting now that I think about it. It's a gold kind of cover. I had like yellow and orange yoga outfit on, and it was like the back of it was yellow. It was really interesting.
Yeah,
So weird. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that happened, and then like a year or two later, I was on the cover again. And then inside the pages, but in between all of that, just I started traveling, and people. I mean, let's be really honest. I mean, there really weren't any people that looked like me. I mean, there were not other Black or even BIPOC yoga teachers at that level at that moment in time. And it's interesting because I was reading something today about imposter syndrome.
Oh,
And
imposter. I thought you said posture syndrome.
no, imposter.
I feel
No,
like my posture
no,
is okay.
no, no,
Yeah,
imposter.
imposter. Got
Yeah.
it.
And so, I mean, definitely at that moment in time, I felt like a major imposter because I was like, you know,
Yeah.
people want to learn from me. And then, I mean, there were also just so many other things that
But
happened.
that's natural too when you're young and you're like encountering a ton of success. You're like, because I mean, I obviously am not a person of color. I have a lot of privilege in different ways, and other, in obvious ways. But I remember all those yoga journal conferences. I was some kid. I was super broke. I was publishing some kind of huge website,
Yeah, yeah.
but yoga journal and a lot. There was this sort of competitive thing yoga journal would have with me sometimes, and where they would kind of look at me like this a little mouse. They were
Really?
like an elephant, ironically.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and I totally remember feeling kind of enjoying being like an imposter. I felt like a little like Robin Hood, in the forest, you
Really?
know.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But I don't mean to make that. I mean, your experience was obviously in a funny way. You were, like you said, you were a pioneer for visibility for BIPOC community
Yeah.
in the yoga world, which up until then, as you remember, every cover of yoga journal was like pastel, blonde, beautiful, not even men, like with
Not
the
even
men
men.
cover.
Yeah,
It was just
there were no men. That was the
20,
other
20-year-old women all the time.
Skinny, really skinny too,
Yeah,
which is really
right.
interesting,
Skinny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember what's her name. We were friendly and interviewed her, I'm sure. Um, Tara Stiles. She had a book that came out
Oh,
that was literally like titled like Skinny. I can't remember. She was great, but like it was skinny. There was so little awareness around body issues that like it was still kind of acceptable, if not profitable, to put a book out about how you could be skinny.
skinny and do yoga. Well, yeah.
And I respect to her, like maybe I'm getting the title wrong too, but it was something around skin.
Yeah. So it was, it was an interesting time. And, during all that period, I mean, that's when I met you
Yeah,
at one of those
I remember that very fondly.
at
Yoga Journal Conference, New York
New York
City.
City.
I don't
Yeah.
remember when.
Yeah. I
But
mean, it was like some booth through. Like it was definitely in the exhibit area. And I was like, oh my God, he's such a big dude.
yeah, we hung out all the time. I mean, at least around each other, that conference. That was so fun. I remember that party at the very end of the
Oh
conference.
my God. In that loft?
Yeah,
I haven't thought about that
yeah.
in age.
It was
That
so nice with everyone at the end. Everyone's relaxed. And then I don't think I saw you forever, right? And then I got to see you like this super like grounded in your seat of success as a woman, as a human being, and as a yoga teacher at the Telluride
Yeah.
Yoga Fest.
It's Telluride.
This,
It's
or
yeah, it was
this summer.
this summer. And I don't know how you enjoyed that. Was that your first time at Telluride?
It was my second yoga fest, but at Telluride. But the first Telluride Yoga Fest, which we sponsored, was like more than 10 years ago. So
Wow.
different owners,
Oh,
different, totally.
okay. Okay.
So yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I barely remember it right now.
I mean, for me, it was really interesting. I mean, I'm not used to being that
Oh,
high in altitude and everything,
yeah,
but
that could
I
be
think,
rough.
yeah, it was tough, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I kind of felt like I kind of prepped my body a little
Yeah,
bit. I mean, who knows?
you're good at that. I hope. I hope you had good advice. I know you're good at taking care of yourself, is what I
Yeah.
mean. But no coffee, which no one ever does. Everyone always drinks coffee. no alcohol for like 3 days, lots of water,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. I didn't have a glass of wine until like night 3, I think it was.
there you go.
And then I was like, "Oh, okay, I can handle this," but I can only handle 1 glass.
Yeah, I mean, it's different here. Like, we have to bake differently. We have to make coffee at a different temperature. Things are
Wait,
different.
wait,
Altitude
wait,
is
you
it?
said you have to bake
Yeah,
differently?
like recipes are slightly different at higher altitude.
Oh,
Yeah, look it up. It's great. I mean,
I've never heard that
yeah,
before. Well,
just
I don't do a
say
lot of baking.
altitude's a real thing. Like, your oxygen levels are different. That's why all the athletes love to live in Boulder or wherever.
Really increases their endurance, I guess.
Well, yeah, because there's less oxygen in the air. So then when they go compete at sea level,
They're
they
like,
have an advantage.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're they're like masters. Wow.
Yeah.
I learned some new stuff today. This is good. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, I learn new stuff every day because I'm wildly ignorant. But so anyway, we were back in New York, or no, you had moved to DC
Yeah, I'm
and started a
back in
studio.
DC. Yeah. So I opened up that studio, and then I had a business partner at the time. Her and we split. And then I opened up my second studio, which I ended up having for 11 years. And during that 11-year period, I mean, all tons of other things happened. I mean, from doing tons and tons of like online video, which actually I think I started recording online videos probably like in 2009, 2010, like around the time Yoga Journal cover came out. But then by like 2014, 2015, it was just like my life was like on
Yeah.
fire. Like I would
Yeah.
probably say almost for like a 4 or 5 year period, I was rarely ever home. And I had a yoga
Yeah.
studio at the time, which is really strange. I ended up leaving DC, keeping my studio open. I had so much happening that I ended up moving back to New York because I was constantly on the train. So it's just like, okay, keep the studio, do teacher training, yada, yada, yada. And then I lived in New York for another probably like 4 years and then came back to DC in 2017, I want to say. Yeah, sometime around 2017. And then, yeah, and I was in DC up until this year or 2022. Yeah.
So what was it like, you know, like I publish Elephant, we talk about wellness and yoga and health or, diet, whatever, all these things. And then meanwhile, my daily life historically has been incredibly busy and overwhelming. So you said you were like in the fire, just working so hard, doing all these videos, traveling nonstop, having a studio on top of that, teacher trainings, trying to have a life and relationship. Sure. You know, what was helpful what's your helpful advice for everyone who's listening, parents, entrepreneurs, students, whoever, who are dealing with burnout, trying to take care of themselves, or trying to be busy, the whole American like
Hmm.
treadmill of being busy.
Absolutely. I think the thing that I've learned, and I probably would have told myself like 10 years ago or something like that, is to try my best to get rest and create some level of balance because I was young and I was vibrant and I was excited and I was,
Yeah,
oh my God, things are popping. It's hard to say no. And so
exactly.
I was saying yes to probably way more than I should have said
And
yes
you're
to.
afraid to say
And I'm afraid
no, right? You're
to
young,
say
so
no.
you're like,
Because I'm thinking to myself, this might go away, right? It was that
yeah,
weird scarcity mentality thing was happening in my
and
head.
not just go away, but you want to like, uh,
But you want to stay.
yeah,
Yeah.
building block. You
Yeah.
want to create something.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what I would say is at least craft out dedicated time to rest. And I started doing that probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Actually, when I came back to DC for the second time, is that I would always like make sure I took my own personal beginning of the new year kind of like spiritual getaway. I would spend at least a week or two just kind of like alone somewhere gorgeous, so I started doing that, and I put in place certain things like like if I'm my staff and stuff, don't call me before 10 o'clock. Don't text me before 10 o'clock because the mornings are my sacred time.
Yeah.
And when I put those things in place, it assisted me in having a little more balance because I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the thing that I would say, and I don't know about you, but what I sacrificed, and I didn't realize I was sacrificing, but I did. I sacrificed relationship. Um, I I don't wanna say I'm fully a type A, but I am, and I'm very detailed, and I'm like especially when I'm into something, I get really, really focused, and definitely having a solid, strong, steady relationship is something that I have not had successfully. Like, they come in increment,
Yeah. Yeah.
they come in tiny little increments.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the one thing that
It's
I've
hard when you're trying to build something, right? And in a way, it's like compassion. You like don't want to put like for you, you can manage your stress. Hopefully, you can create boundaries with your staff or with your work, take rest. But like a partner is along for the ride,
yeah,
and
yeah.
they have their own ride as well. They have
They have their own
things.
ride. They have their and that and, like you said, they have their own ride, and I've never been one, in relationship, I've always been that person where I'm like, "If you need to go take care of yourself or you need to put all you need in your career, feel free to do that, and if that means that we're not gonna be together, then we're not gonna be together." I've
Yeah.
I've had to say that a couple of times in relationship, or there've been times where even I have had to step away from the relationship because I'm like, "You know what? It's not assisting me. It's I don't wanna say hindering me,
Yeah.
but it's what I find if I'm in a relationship and it's keeping me from being creative and I'm not creative, I'm not happy. So why am I in this
Good for
relationship?"
you. I mean, it sounds so healthy because you have to have that ground of like in Buddhism, we say always, always trust the principal one.
Mhm.
Principal one is yourself. And you have to have, there's tough choices sometimes when you say, you know, this is what I care about in this time of my life.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's actually a good caring. Like sometimes we care about things we don't need to care about, like get enough money for a Ferrari or whatever. Like, but if you're doing a career and you believe in it and it's good for other people, exactly as this person says, what gives you joy, but
Mhm.
also what gives other people joy. Like you and me are in a position to be of service,
Yeah.
and particularly someone like yourself, me in maybe different ways, but you're an example to so many, and you're helping expand what people think yoga looks like and who it can be
Mhm.
for, who it can be helpful for.
Absolutely.
And that's important.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think for me, like you said, it's like of being of service is so important for me. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that whatever I'm sharing, whatever I'm putting out, that I'm doing it in a very authentic way. And so even when I'm in these moments of struggle or challenge, I don't overshare, but I do share that, you know what, I can't show up fully
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm moving through something, or I allow my offering to the world to be an example. So I'm like, you know what, I am going through this thing, and this is how I'm handling, or
Love
this
that.
is how I've handled it in the past.
I love that. That's what I was gonna say is like the best teachers or writers, I'm always trying to coach people who write on Elephant. People are always like, I can't write right now. I'm too busy. I'm too overwhelmed. I'm too unhappy. I'm like, you kidding? Like, what are you waiting for? Like,
Hmm.
you write vulnerably and then you're an example to others. You make them feel less alone.
Yeah.
You don't wait until you're perfect and happy and you're, in a way that makes people think you have it all together. And
Right.
the role of the teacher is to remind people you're human and we're
Mhm.
all human. And how do we get through this?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, um, yeah, there's a lot there. And I know, I was reading on your website about your mom a little bit. You had a blog about her. I'd love to hear about your mom and, your brother. That
Yeah.
seems obviously to be a huge part of your personal journey and your
Absolutely.
story.
Hmm.
Um, but just to come back first to, um, and I want to ask this with respect and with sensitivity, but how do you feel about yoga today in terms of race, in terms of, participation, in terms of access? Do you feel like it's opened up a little or does it feel okay, or how can it improve?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have so many different thoughts about
Yeah,
yoga today,
yeah.
on so many different levels. But I think it in terms of access, it has opened up. I mean, I think back to it's interesting as we were talking, I saw my old business partner, I think she signed on
Uh,
Shop Mama. Aisha Ali, and I remember when her and I opened up the studio in 2007 or so. I mean, we were literally the only women Black owned yoga studios in DC, Maryland, Virginia. The only. And so I think back to that moment in time and I'm like, wow, this practice, it wasn't just about, oh, Black people or people of color don't practice yoga. They do because they showed up to our studios. It was more about having spaces where people feel comfortable and safe to be themselves. And so that's always been kind of like my one of my commitments is that regardless if I'm creating something online, the words that I share, the way that I lead from my heart when I'm teaching, or the physical locations that I'm creating, I want to make sure that people can feel safe, secure, and grounded in those spaces. I think that it has grown over time. And I think we're in a really great place. However, there's still so much that needs to happen because I think during the pandemic, we think about all of the moments that happened around from George Floyd to so many other Black people being traumatized, but specifically Black people being killed. And it's like even now, if I even see like on video a Black person, young man or woman being attacked by the police, it creates this sense of trauma. Like I'm like, oh, like I almost freeze, and I always have to like it's a trigger for me now. And so, and I think back, I think about how our wellness spaces should be these safe spaces. But what I have found is that some of the spaces that claim to have been safe spaces during the pandemic were not truly safe spaces. They were only safe spaces in word because they were trying to get the business of people of color. Or here's another thing I'm going to share is that also other businesses were hiring and bringing on people of color in order to share the practice, but weren't truly respecting their opinions and values. And they weren't matching. So it's almost kind of like, I think back to the times that I've appeared in different places over the course of my time. And, I'm like, and I've talked to my mom about this a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I was a token. Like I can identify when I am. And I'm like, sometimes I've had to like suck that up and go, you know what? I am the token, but me being the token is also opening the door. And that's kind of how I feel like the trajectory of my career has been is like I showed up as the only person of color, but then poof, I opened the door. And then I run again. Poof, I open the door.
yeah.
Many doors are open. However, we still aren't where we need to be. It's still not a balanced playing field on any level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same, if not worse, in the American Buddhism. Yeah, the token thing, I was thinking about that when you first mentioned, Yoga Journal cover, because in the beginning, of course, it was like with Yoga Journal, it was blatant tokenism because it had been so white.
Hmm.
And um and you know, like their when their height of diversity was putting Rodney Yee on a cover, and respect. I love Rodney. Um, the Asian American community matters. Um, but yeah, it was basically white, white, white. But once I mean, we're lucky to have someone like you, and I'm sure many others, hopefully now, people who are sort of tokenized, but then, you owned it. You opened that door and you're like, I'm not going to allow myself to just be a token. I'm
Hmm.
going to make it possible for so many others. So
Yes.
how did you kind of own that space once you got your foot in the door for the BIPOC community? I feel like you didn't allow yourself to be
No.
tokenized.
No, and I was very, and even now, I'm extremely intentional about who I partner with and who I connect with. And
Right.
if it doesn't align, if I don't feel good, if it doesn't fit my goals and priorities for that year, then I step aside. Like I've opted out of like a couple of really huge big things. I
Yeah.
because I was like, it's not time. Like I'm
Well,
supposed.
tell us about that because you don't have to name names, but like you're going to conferences, that's a smaller scale than a big
Mhm.
sponsor deal.
Yeah.
But whether it's small or big, I'm sure there's been situations that feel super uncomfortable.
Yeah, there've been some moments where,
And how do you negotiate
yeah,
that for others
stuff. I
that
mean, I
can't?
think, it's really interesting too, because one of the hardest pieces of the negotiation is, of course, I want to be in alignment, but the hardest piece is making sure that I, as a professional and as an expert, that I am being paid um the same wage.
But so how do
It
you
it's a sticky kind of like place to be.
right? But that's
Um
great, but you kind of have to trust them, right? Which
You
is
you
part of the problem.
it's this level of trust, but then also, if I know that I've been paid X for this, and then somebody wants to pay me Y, and I'm like, that's not
Oh,
gonna.
I see.
Yeah,
I
so
so you kind of
really
know what you should be
understanding
getting.
yeah, really understanding my worth is
Got it.
extremely important.
Was anyone, you don't have to name names or you can, it's a positive thing, but was anyone, probably a white person, was anyone helpful in kind of mentoring or coaching you? Like,
Mm,
here's the sponsored situations, here's the conference, here's what you should ask for, here's what other people are getting paid. Like, were people open about it?
absolutely not.
No.
No,
Oh,
no, absolutely not. Like,
I
no, like,
literally thought you were going to say absolutely.
no, absolutely
Oh,
not. Not a single soul in my entire time of doing this has anyone actually, like, that have stepped in and helped to negotiate some of these deals. The other thing that I've had, like, especially when it comes
uh,
to contracts, I know this is very, like, businessy, but one thing that I had the support of is actually friends that were attorneys, but very specifically a dear friend that is an entertainment attorney. And so anytime I would have any major, like
that's
big
cool.
contracts, I would send those contracts over to him. And I knew that he was going to have my back and he would redline that sucker. Even if my management team were like, oh my God, that's kind of like intense. And I'm like, nope, nope.
Good for
If
you.
they're doing this for entertainers, if they're doing this for basketball
Yeah.
players and whatnot, why shouldn't yoga teachers and wellness professionals be supported and respected in the same way?
And I think that's a huge lesson for people out there because, like, I was brought up by a single mom. She had no business sense. She'll say that herself. She peaked out at making 12,000 a year. She worked two jobs to raise me, that kind of thing.
Mm,
So I grew up with like no understanding of finances or investing. I still to this day I don't have a single stock or whatever. But what I did learn somehow was to ask for help. And I love that you were like, you know, I get the lawyer in there, the entertainment lawyer, like people out there, you don't have to know everything. You have to be grounded enough, like faith, to be like, I'm getting advice on this
yeah,
from the pros.
from the pros, and I really feel that I've been lucky to have people come into my life over the years to assist me with that. It's almost like the universe is knowing that I was going to move down this path, and so they were like, okay, I'm going to throw these people in your life, and again, like I said, don't be afraid to ask for help and assistance.
Like you don't have to know, no one is born knowing everything.
Heck no, heck no.
Heck no. So, um, how did your book come about? Because that was another big episode
The,
that I
the
kind of missed. We were authors together at Telluride, but
Yeah. The book actually was in the making for many years before I actually sat down and started writing it. The name of the book is Spiritually Fly, which I that happened in like 28 or 2000 yeah, 2008.
yeah,
And
that was, I
it's
think, even when I first met you, that was the name of your practice or teaching.
Yeah, yeah. So that name has been around for a
Yeah.
long time. And then over the years, because as I was traveling and doing all the other stuff, the theory and the approach around spiritually fly has definitely gone through its own evolution. And it started out as a yoga class, and now it's a whole lifestyle and whole lifestyle brand within itself. But I started writing the book, I want to say in 2017, no, 2018. Yeah, I started writing in 2018. But between 2018 and 2007, 2008, um, wow, 10 years, I was just teaching
Yeah.
and doing and practicing. But at the same time I'm doing that, I'm also journaling. So
Yes.
I started journaling when I was a teenager. So I have like all these books, but because I also took mad notes in yoga teacher training. And then as I was teaching, I was constantly journaling. I had what I always tell my teacher trainees is like, get a journal while you're in teacher training, which I did the exact same thing. And it helped me out so much because once I got ready to write the book, then I started looking back on all the things, not just what I taught, but also all the things that I practiced and what I was feeling in that moment. So if I move myself through a particular practice, then I would like journal around how that made me feel. And it's really weird. Once I pulled the book together, I started putting all the pieces in alignment, and it's really this beautiful collection of personal practices, but the personal practices that I know work based upon what the whole spiritually fly experience is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like 10 plus years
Yeah.
of personal work. Yeah. Wow.
Such a good process. You were like practicing and teaching for 10 years or whatever. And then
Yeah.
you sit down to write. What was the process of, since you're type A organized, I imagine that was kind of satisfying
It was,
experience.
yeah, it was really interesting because I couldn't write it home. I realized the first like couple of months, it's like I can't write it home. So I ended up
Why? Too
too
distracting?
distracted. And I was looking at dust bunnies in the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
I mean, my dog Sebastian. I was like, "Let's go for a
Oh,
walk." And
it's
then I'm like,
so funny.
I leave my yoga mat on the floor. Like even now, my yoga mat's sitting there on the floor. So I leave my yoga mat out all the time. It's like, oh, maybe I'll just roll around on my yoga mat and get it right. So I was like, no, I have to have structure. So I got a co-working space, and then I would go to the co-workers. My co-working space is 24 hours. I would show up at the co-working space like around 3 o'clock when people are like starting to leave.
S-
And it was
That's
just,
smart.
it was quiet. And that was like, I tried the morning time. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. I'll do my personal stuff in the morning, take my meetings, and then show up to the co-working space around 3 or 4, write for 2 or 3 hours, and then go home for dinner. And it worked out perfectly. So I, w- I was like a mad scientist. And then
Man.
again, taking my notes. But the other thing I think was beneficial is that I had an amazing editor.
Right.
Like, because she kept me motivated.
Yeah.
Um, and I always share this. She coming back to that imposter thing. She continued to remind me as she's reading through my book and doing her editing that I'm the expert, that I
Mhm.
have the knowledge,
Right.
I have experience, and not being afraid to share that. Which was again a
Yeah.
very scary thing. Yeah, yeah. I see your face. You're like, "Eek."
No, it's such a, well, I just wrote, so my second book, which I don't have here. Oh, it was the one, I think I was there with it. It was the first time I'd had it at Telluride Yoga Fest when I saw you this summer. Um, the book had just come out, and it's a whole book on like everything I've learned from the Buddhist tradition and environmental and social activism. And talk about imposter syndrome. Like I'm surrounded in my whole life, amazing Buddhist teachers, environmentalists, social justice people I get to interview, like unbelievable people. And then like who wants to hear from, you know, but we all, have our experience. And if we sit in that imposter syndrome in a funny way, I feel like is a tricky term because
Mhm.
it's actually like from a Buddhist point of view, it's, or any hopefully human point of view, it's okay to feel vulnerable and humble, which I do when I write. And I sounds like you, but you don't want to make that a negative thing. Like, who am I? I don't matter. I suck. I'm
Yeah.
stupid. I
Yeah.
should shut up.
Yeah. Which is so interesting that you say that about yourself, because that's how I view you, as this like amazing advocate and someone that's like
Exactly.
so environmentally
Exactly.
conscious.
And I view it that way. I view you as just like master of your kingdom. Look at your life. Rock.
So interesting. So interesting how we beat ourselves up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some great quote. I don't remember the source. Stephen Furtick, something like that. I think he's like a Christian teacher, but he says, we judge others by their highlights
Mhm.
and ourselves by the behind the scenes, like worst moment
Yeah.
or something.
The low
Yeah.
lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. 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 Totally. Oh,
Yeah.
our little human mind, I swear.
Yeah. But and how's the book doing?
Doing
Officially
it's
plus.
doing pretty good. Kids people haven't seen it.
Yes. I was hoping
Not a lot.
good.
I have it all the
Beautiful.
time. Well, this is like my personal copy with all the little notes
Oh,
and stuff. It's the one I
yeah.
took from. But yeah, this is the book, and it's yeah, I it's really fascinating because I started a podcast a couple of months ago based on what's happening in the book and some of the teachings and stuff from the book. And from time to time, when I'm on the podcast, I will actually read some passages. And I'll read passages during classes that I do live streaming and in person. But I swear, every time I read something from the book, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. I mean, because I'm like it's so touching, it's like almost reliving it in this way. And, you were talking
Oh,
vulnerability. And it's like when I'm reading from the book, it is such a vulnerable space because yeah, they're the technical pieces in there, but typically what I'm reading, I'm not reading the technical pieces. I'm reading the meanings behind, or the meaning behind why we're doing something, or the meaning behind why this particular practice is so important. And, coming back to my editor, as I was sharing in the book about particular practices or techniques, that's what she encouraged. She was like, explain how it feels in your body, or how it's been shared and presented and experienced by your students. And all of it is very vulnerable and heart wrenching and open and very deep. Meaning it's like this deep well of emotion that came through some of the words. And it's kind of like sometimes I'm like, oh, it's pretty darn poetic, and because I like
right.
writing poetry too, so it's like some of
Yeah.
the way that the language flows is very poetic and very, yeah, heart-filled.
So when are you gonna publish your poetry book?
I don't know yet. I don't
Come
know.
on.
I totally need to. I totally
You
need to.
should.
Yeah.
That'd be
And
great.
I and I have so much. It's crazy. I have so many things in my phone. And even I remember pulling the book together. Each chapter has at least, and that was one thing that the editor they wanted. They were like, please share some of your poetry in the book. And so I'm like trying to figure out what pieces are going to work for the book. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I have so much crap. Like so many in my phone, and there's so much
Yeah.
even, on Instagram and like all these other platforms
Totally.
that I've like written, and it's a lot. So yeah.
But that's a positive thing. That's literally how I built my second book. Is I took all the like best stuff I'd written for 10 years about 80 different subjects and made it a book.
Oh, well, maybe that's what I need to do. That's the second project.
Yeah.
I think. Or
People would love it.
I think,
I would love it.
yeah.
So what do you feel like is ahead? 5 years, what's your 5-year plan kind of thing?
Wow.
What's next?
5 years. Well, I haven't fully thought about the full on 5 years, in that sense of like work related,
Yeah,
but
I shouldn't say
kind of like,
5-year plan, but like from a mission point of view.
yeah,
Part
that's what I was going to say. Kind of like this overarching, like energetic kind of like 5-year approach. Um, Definitely cultivating a little more balance, being as creative as I possibly can, and collaborating a little bit more, is definitely something I want to do.
I like that.
I mean, yeah, I kind of felt like because I was spinning so much, I kind of lost that energy of the collaboration. I would like do small little collaborations, but I really would like to do like some larger and bigger ones, more long-term collaborations, I think. I also want to take my teachings and my practices even more around the globe. That is like really huge for me. And that could be in any shape or form, right? It can mean I'm traveling to those places. Like I've traveled to a lot of places around the world. I mean, I've hit just about every continent. Um, However, I think that there's some pockets that haven't been that haven't experienced the spiritually fly taste of what we deliver. And so I want to be able to offer that up a little bit more to the world and helping people see that they have the capacity to practice radical self-care, radical self-love, and tap into the strength of their own healing. And so I think that's probably one of the big pieces that I love about what this book does is that provides people with these practices and are like, okay, now you go do this, put in the work, right? And it doesn't take a lot. Like, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, go do something that's going to impact your overall health and well-being. And so that's really one of my goals is making sure that people have these practices. But the interesting part I think is crucial and important is that we know all these practices are out here. There's hundreds of thousands of wellness and probably millions of wellness practitioners around the world. There aren't that many that are Black women.
Mm.
And that fully, like, I'm not saying I'm the only one. There are definitely a lot. But I know for a fact that as a Black woman, connecting with other Black women in the wellness space, there is this depth that we bring. And I'm not saying that other people don't bring that same level of depth, but I'm like, I bring this. I know from fact myself and some others that I've talked to, the depth that we're bringing comes from a whole nother source. And I don't know where the source is. I haven't figured that one out yet. Only thing I can think about is like when you mentioned my mother and like the depth of her and her experiences over her lifetime. I think about, I'm back here in New Orleans. I'm living in New Orleans now. And I think about my family and the roots that we have on this land and just how we are so spiritually grounded in a way that I ignored for
Mm.
a really long time.
Ignored because you were young and
I
kind of
looking
looking
and
for your path.
thinking and like, yeah. And so now I think, as I've moved past some other things in my life and I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm restarting, but I'm rebooting in a different kind of way. Kind of like when you saw me, you're like, dang, like faith is
Yeah.
and part of that is that I've kind of like dropped into my own and I've like really, I feel even more confident about what I bring spiritually. I am fully led by my intuition far more than I did 10 years ago when I started, you know, doing this thing called teaching yoga globally. And I want to make sure that people see that example, people feel that example, people experience what is in my soul because I know for a fact, and this has taken a lot of work, but I know for a fact that's what I was put on this earth to do.
Right.
Like it, and I run from like even in the midst of like doing what I do, I've like, you know, pull back and be like, no, I don't want to like be seen or I don't want to, I don't need to push the envelope. And right now I'm like sitting in a whole nother place. It's like, yeah, like this is what I'm on this earth to do. Um, I don't necessarily call myself like an individual healer, but what I do is like I open up some serious ass portals and to help people drop into. Like I know that about myself.
Yeah.
And I the way that I do that is that I become this vessel for the divine, my ancestors, my lineage to pour through me. And then that lineage is filled with so much strength and power. Like everything from, my like African culture to my native culture to, even, my French and German culture. Like it's like it like like, I know that all of that is within me. And so as a Black woman, I want to make sure that I am stepping into my fullness without fear. And that's my 5-year plan. I
Yeah.
actually haven't said that really out loud. It's to really step 100% in who I am and unafraid, unapologetic, and
I
offer it
love
up to the world. That was a
that.
long speech.
No, it wasn't. It felt like 5 seconds. I'm not being nice. Yeah, that was great because I think, what I hadn't seen you in 10 years, you hadn't seen me in 10 years. I could tell you did. You felt really grounded and really powerful and really, but also really like bright and like yourself, like not, uh, um, you you felt like yourself. And from a Buddhist point of view, I think that's the ideal is that they say you become more and more yourself. You don't, yes, we become channels for the divine or whatever we want to call that energy. So it's not about us. Become more ourselves in serving others and being
Yeah.
genuinely trying to be a benefit. And your work, you kind of, it's like in Jerry Maguire, you have me at hello. Like your work is powerful just by you showing up and being grounded and being powerful and being an example for others and changing the somewhat toxic fabric
Mm,
that you know um that we're all used to, that we don't even really see sometimes.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's, and do it in your way, which is, joyful and genuine. And I think you can do that with fear. Like you said, I'm going to step into that without fear. It's like you can bring your hesitation,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
it anyway.
The hesitation, the vulnerability, like bringing all
Bring
that
it.
moved through the process.
Because
Absolutely.
everyone has that. And some people, obviously, for better reasons and more reasons than others. So I appreciate your work and
Thank you.
I'm glad we got to reconnect. I really wanted to, I think we talked about it at Telluride. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about Telluride, and then I was moving around trying to relocate it and get my way back to Louisiana. And so,
Yeah,
uh,
so cool.
yeah. Yeah. Now
That's cool. You're back then.
I'm back here. Yeah. I left Louisiana in 90. As my cousin says, in the 1900s. Ugh. Like,
Love that.
yeah, 1900s. So yeah, that's what I left.
So funny.
Yeah, yeah. So that's when I left, and my mom always, my mom's like very excited, but she's constantly saying that she can't believe that I'm actually back. She doesn't believe that. Like
Oh,
she misses her boo.
yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, she
And
really
our
misses.
parents need us as they get older. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's weird.
def-
I'm in this process of probably moving to be with my mom up in Canada, which is
yeah,
not where I'm from, but is where she is now.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
She
good
needs
process.
it is. She needs me. She
Yeah. Love that. Well, Faith, I'm a huge fan. Everyone follow Faith,
Thank you. Thank you.
comment,
Wait.
on her posts, get her book Spiritually
Yeah.
Fly. Check her out. You're touring around
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm touring around. We're setting some dates for obviously it's gonna be a busy summer as we look at some of these dates. And yeah, I'll be probably be at Telluride, again,
Cool.
Asheville, a couple of other locations. I'll be
Oh,
in
Asheville's great.
Yeah, I'll be in Boston a couple of like in about I think in April I'll be in Boston, which I haven't been in Boston in probably like 7 or 8 years to teach, so that'll be sweet.
Cool.
And we're looking at other places, and then also too, I have an app that is coming out on Monday.
Woo, good timing. Look at that.
And so it's like literally all the teachings, all the practices that are in the book will slowly be uploaded. There are already probably like about 3 workshops now that are pulled from the book that are on the app, plus so many other practices. And it's like, yeah, and that's what people will be able to hang out with me when they don't see me in person.
So what's the
It
app called? I have a
it
guess.
it
But
it is Elevate, actually.
oh,
Elevate.
okay.
Yeah, so it actually comes from the book. So the subtitle
Okay.
of the book is Wisdom, Meditations, and Yoga to Elevate Your Soul. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So elevated, and then maybe Faith Hunter
Yeah,
there, or
it's Elevate by Faith.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
So we'll include that link, that download link, when we get this video
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Obviously, it's live right now, but we'll put it on YouTube and our site and all
Cool.
that. But it'll be on our podcast. We'll link to your podcast. Everyone check out Faith's podcast. And Faith, I adore you. Thank you for
Oh
joining.
my God. Waylon, I'm so glad you invited me to do this. And,
Anytime.
it's always just, and every time I see you, it 900 years ago to the present,
Yes.
it is always a joy. And you were always filled with just so much love and openness. And that's one of the things that I absolutely respect about you. And your
No,
heart is so big and it's beautiful.
no. Well, you're very sweet. Like you, I owe much of it to my mom. So, yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah.
Cool.
Faith, please do come back.
Absolutely.
Let's be in better touch.
Take care.
I'll see you at some conference
All
somewhere.
right. Take care.
Everyone, thank you to Faith.
Bye.
Bye.